Will you give Starmer a decade to rebuild Britain? That's what we're asking. The Prime Minister has warned this morning that things will get worse before they get better, as he lays out the foundations for tax rises and spending cuts to come in the budget later this autumn. But he promised to make difficult decisions that would have lasting benefits to people's lives.
There is a budget coming in October, and it's going to be painful. We have no other choice, given the situation that we're in. Just as when I responded to the riots, I'll have to turn to the country and make big asks of you as well, to accept short-term pain for long-term good. Imagine the pride we will feel as a nation when, after the hard work of clearing up the mess is done, we have a country that we have built together, built to last.
Now, ahead of that speech, there were warnings that it could take a decade to fix the country. So would you give him that time? That's what we're asking. 0207 862 2222. Get your calls in now. Nelufar, what do you think? People don't want any more austerity, do they?
Absolutely not, especially when austerity feeds or fuels misspending budgets in government, when it is used to pay off people's expenses rather than paying off the country's expenses. And I understand that, but I want to say something about the tone of what Starmer was saying. I really thought he came across as a leader, as someone who was asking the country to step up and to make the difficult decisions needed. Look, nobody wants tax rises. Nobody wants prices to increase. Nobody wants this to be difficult, especially after the 15 years we have, where the fabric of this country seems to be worn out. Is it going to be difficult? Yes, but the promises that he made during the campaigning, the manifesto, are promises that he is hoping to keep. So, for example, income tax, national insurance and VAT are set not to rise, OK? These are good things that we're able to do. Is it going to be difficult? Absolutely. It doesn't matter if it was a Tory government, a Labour government or any other. The decisions we have to make after the 15 years we've had are going to hurt, and that's just the way it is. The question for us, though, is, are these decisions going to be bearable by the right people? That is to say, the most vulnerable in our societies and our communities should not be paying the burden of the mistakes made over the last 15 years.
Isn't it quite similar, though, Keir Starmer's speech now, to what we heard from David Cameron when he started talking about austerity?
Well, it is, and I think to pick up your point about tone, I think the tone was absolutely appalling. What I want from a leader fresh in a job is energy, enthusiasm, positivity. Yes, of course, difficult decisions.
Well, he was positive about the very far future.
Well, the tone itself was, it's going to be difficult, and I can't. I mean, he's basically. When I used to work in a newsroom, and I had very kind of demanding bosses. I would always be told, "Don't bring me problems, bring me solutions," and that's what I kind of would want from him. Yes, of course, things are going to be difficult. Yes, of course, there are difficult decisions that have to be made. It's like it's only just dawned on him, though, that now he's got in the job, how difficult the job really is. I have to say, just the same as, oh well, we knew things were hard, but we didn't know about this big black hole of money that we've lost 22 billion down the back of the sofa. Strangely, they haven't got all their sums in order. They didn't know about things that were going to happen, and they've started poorly. It's not what I want.
He did talk about ways in which they have started to create growth for the future, didn't they? They talked about their British energy.
When you look at the 10 points they're leading with, there's a lot of it that I would agree with. There's a lot of it that I think is very good. Bringing in more appointments for the NHS, bringing back the family doctor, bringing in breakfast clubs in schools, looking at various things like that. I do not agree with the winter fuel payment rollback. I think the admin alone is going to negate the cost that he thinks he's going to save there. I think they should cancel the interest immediately on student loans, because that is just money that's never going to be paid, and I think it would do a huge lot for people just to take the weight off without actually costing anything.
But still, what you're describing is hurt. Some people, it is. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, the 22 billion black hole in the budgets and the finances wasn't money that Starmer spent or misplaced. It was not reported, not accounted by the former government. I mean, the failure, and I don't know, I feel quite betrayed by that, because the manifesto that the Labour Party came out with was fully costed. That means that...
Well, they always say that.
But it was.
I have to say, well, OK, well, I mean,
well, let's just say...
If you go back in history, they always say that, and then they never quite find the money to do what they want to do, because their ambitions are always greater, which is a good thing, and I want their ambitions to be greater, but you do have to be able to afford it. And I think people realise that, but I don't think they are looking in the right place to make the country. And I think they're going on big decisions early that are not going to work for them.
I don't think so. This is about sustainability. 10 years, you've asked the question, can we give Starmer 10 years to put this country on a track where we see progressive growth, where we see happiness, we see resilience? Because one thing that's true about the society that we live in today is we are all exhausted by the rhetoric, by the chat, by the divisiveness. And what Starmer is saying, quote, we should be able to be in a position where we feel proud, where we feel connected. Everything that he's describing, and I agree with you, the winter fuel allowance thing is a little bit tricky because it is going to affect the richest pensioners, but pensioners
it affects them all. And the fact
what
of the
is the
matter
richest pensioners
pensions are not a benefit. Pensions are something that people pay into
but
and feel that they deserve, whatever their circumstance. And if you don't look after older people,
well, hold on
generally,
a minute,
which we don't
he hasn't said anything about not looking after older people.
No,
what he's saying is that by increasing
we don't look after older people in this country, so everybody needs money when they get older. We don't give them any kind of benefits on any savings if they do have any money. And actually, the cost of looking after yourself or other people when you're older, when we don't have proper social care, is very, very difficult.
One of the ways to mitigate
that is just being ignored. Ignored.
One of the ways to mitigate that is to make sure that there's what we don't have in this country is a functioning, working, well-funded NHS. Yes. We have absolutely no care in the community. We have no care packages that people, predominantly older people in the NHS, can go onto once they are better and no longer need a bed. Those are two areas decisively that Starmer is willing to work on and invest in. So, yes, it's going to be difficult, it's going to be hard, but this is about sustainability as much as it is about growth.
But just talking about the winter fuel payments there, do you think with the decisions that you've seen Starmer make already that he is targeting the right people, or do you think that perhaps he might be targeting the more vulnerable people than you would like?
He's got to make he's got a bad bunch to make decisions on, and he has to make decisions. One of the things he said in the speech and one of the things he said previously, and his surrogates have said, is, look, he's done more in the last 7 to 8 weeks than the previous government have done, and he's right. Policy after policy after policy has gone through. With his supermajority at Parliament, he's managed to put through and implement things. Come on, at the very least, we can say he's taking this seriously. And it may be that not every part of what he's going to have to announce in October is going to be something that I rally behind.
But I think it would be more popular, wouldn't you think, rather than cut winter fuel payments, as if you looked at benefits in other respects and didn't pay out to people, got more people back into work who should be working and didn't pay out to people who are
he's also keeping the two-child benefit, which was difficult for his party. So he has made decisions that aren't particularly in favour of...
He's made difficult decisions, and this man isn't... He's not I don't sense that this cohort of the Labour government is favouring one over the other, whereas I absolutely felt that over the last 5 Tory leaders.
Okay. Angela from Essex, you're up first on the phones. Would you be happy to give Keir Starmer 10 years?
Yeah, providing that he's fair with the cuts that he's making.
And what would be fair to you, Angela? I mean, the winter fuel payments for pensioners, how did you feel about that?
No, I agree that there are a lot of pensioners that don't need the extra money, but they're hitting a lot of people. They should have sort of a level of what people are earning. So say if you're on less than 20,000 a year, then you get the heating allowance.
I mean, essentially, it's kind of means tested because he's going to give it to pensioners that are on certain benefits. So there is an element of means testing to that, but it will mean that other pensioners who were just about getting by might be really, really struggling this winter. What about the 2-child cap? There's a cut that he's made. Oh, he's not made, he's continued.
I'm not sure about that one, to be honest. I think that when you've got 2 children, you shouldn't receive any more
well, then
benefits.
You're in agreement with him there. So where would you not like him to hit then, Angela? What's the things that you're worried that he might target?
Well, no, the point of me phoning was to say that the MPs get £300 per day to turn up at the Houses of Parliament. Is he going to stop that as well? Because, £300 goes a long way to your heating allowance at the end of the year. for pensioners, yet they are getting £300 a day just to turn up, and they can turn around and walk out again.
Angela, we get endless
wrong.
calls complaining about how much MPs earn and the benefits and the expenses that they can get. But I think when we look at how many MPs we have, 300 and something or other, and then we look at how many pensioners we have in this country, the numbers don't really stack up. So even if we took that money away, how much that would benefit pensioners, I'm not entirely sure. But you think at the end of the day it's not a good look?
No, not at all. Absolutely not.
Okay. I mean, it's something that comes up time and time again. So, Angela, who would you like them to target then, apart from politicians? Is there any other? Is it the uber wealthy he should be looking at? Is it big business?
Well, yes, also, yeah, because there's a lot of companies that aren't paying the full taxes as well, and they don't seem to go after people. They just seem to go after the lower paid workers. That is, I thought Labour was supposed to be for the the lower paid workers.
That is one of his pledges, that he has said he will cut the bonuses for the energy companies who pay themselves the big. But that is one of the kind of 10 things on their manifesto, which I hope is true. But it's easier said than done.
Jeffrey from Mid Glamorgan, what's your view on this?
Well, I think he shouldn't get it. For the first thing, the first people he attacked were pensioners. And why did he attack pensioners? Because pensioners have got no power. They say you're losing your £300 and that's it. So what does he do then? He gives train drivers, who are the most overrated people in the country. Let's be honest, they get on 50,000 a year, so he gives them 15%, because they can't live on 50,000. I wish I could live on 50,000.
Yeah, and then when we start comparing wages, things become a bit difficult. But also the junior doctors, he settled a pay rise with them as well. Isn't it good that he's settling with these unions and we're not going to see as many strikes in order to get the economy back up and running?
Yeah, but that's what I'm talking about. The junior doctors, yes, because they do a good job. But, I mean, train drivers are my big bear, because, let's be honest, they only do 4 things.
OK, but Jeffrey, who's getting us to work? Who's ferrying us across the country?
Let me tell you. I don't mind. Let me tell you something. The train drivers have got 4 things to do: start and stop the train, accelerate and watch signals. What else have they got to do? That's it.
Well, I mean, having never trained as a train driver, I'm not entirely sure. Jeffrey, I think a lot of their strikes as well wasn't just about pay, although it turns out that was a large part of it, but it was also about safety. It was about the modernising of the trains and how quickly that was happening and how comfortable they felt about the safety
levels and
the safety elements
and everything.
Yes, and you know, whether we had enough people on the actual trains for security reasons. So there was a lot of other things involved in that, and I'm not sure whether any of that had been cleared up. But I absolutely hear your point. So you don't like where at the moment Keir Starmer is taking and giving?
Did he start with anybody who with the high payers? No, he started with the lowest payers.
Well, I mean, I don't know. At the moment, he's started with a 2-child cap and he has taken away the winter fuel payments. That seems to be the 2 major moves that he's done, which is parents and older people. You know, not the most vulnerable of older people, though it has to be said, Jeffrey. But I do take your point. We'll see what other moves he makes as time goes forward, but you wouldn't be giving him a decade?
No, I wouldn't.